I think we can start. So, good afternoon, everyone. I am Mohammed Al-Daroubi, a postdoctoral fellow at the Canadian Institute for Cybersecurity, University of New Brunswick. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the second webinar of the 2023 Cybersecurity Awareness Month webinars series. The primary goal of this month is to increase public understanding concerning the critical importance of cybersecurity, as well as the countless threats that exist in the digital landscape. Throughout October, we will be privileged to hear from distinguished experts in the field, individuals who will share their knowledge and insight with us. It's going to be an enlightening series that underscores the ever-evolving world of cybersecurity. Today, we will have a talk by Dr. Haruna. The format will be a 20-minute presentation followed by 10 minutes questions. I encourage you to engage with our speaker and ask questions as much as you can. So now, before we delve into our talk, allow me to read the biography of our esteemed speaker. Dr. Haruna Isah is currently a research associate and talent development manager at the Canadian Institute for Cybersecurity. He has a PhD in computer science and master's degree in software engineering, both from the University of Bradford, UK. Before joining UNB in 2020, Haruna was an IBM SOSCIP Postdoctoral Fellow between the period 2017-2019 at the Big Data Analytics and Management Laboratory of the School Computing Queen's University, Kingston, Ontario, Canada. He led an academic industry project collaboration between Queen's University and Ottawa-based media intelligence company that monitors millions of data resources for business intelligence and government relations monitoring. He is a recipient of several research academic awards and international scholarships. Dr. Isah currently leads industry projects at CIC, focusing on protecting artificial intelligence systems and leveraging AI to protect data and infrastructure. He has taught several courses, modules, including digital forensics, understanding social engineering, ethical hacking, data analytics, and security information and event management. Haruna's current research interests include streaming analytics and natural language processing for cybersecurity, social engineering, and ethical hacking, threat intelligence, and digital forensics readiness. So, Dr. Haruna, the floor is yours. It's really impressive bio. Happy to listen to it.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Dr. Mohammed. Let me quickly share my screen. And while I'm doing that, hi, everyone. It can be good morning, it can be afternoon, evening, or night, depending on where you're connecting from. He has already mentioned the topics, the topic we'll be talking about today. So let's get started. Let's start this way. Early on Sunday in the morning, I wake up with this email. The heading says your password has expired. And it came from account team. It just says account team. And then as you can see, the email was well tailored. You can see my email at the top. And then you can see there are 3 steps that I needed to follow in order to activate my expired account. It's not everyone, even experts, that will be able to notice that this email is actually a phishing email. And so what I did, I just forwarded it to Bullsrun phishing forwarding system. And then it confirmed that, yes, you successfully caught and reported a simulated phishing attack. Now, I brought this example at the beginning. Probably someone is connecting. If you don't have this kind of system in your organization, I think this is interesting. This is something that's needed to be in place. And this social engineering domain is dynamic. Systems like this need to be updated. These are some of the things we are going to look into in this presentation. Now, what I just showed is an example of a phishing email, and it's one of the techniques or tactics of social engineering, which is the process of manipulating people into releasing sensitive information that ordinarily they shouldn't release it. Your organization may have the best of firewalls in place, but the weakest link is usually the human. So if you are not careful about the humans that are working, then your information system will have loopholes. Talking about social engineering is not always bad. There are instances where social engineering are very useful. You see, marketing in medical domain, doctors use social engineering in order to get information from patients. The same thing with lawyers. So there are good side of social engineering, but in this presentation, the focus is on malicious social engineering. And as you can see, it's a blend of science, psychology, and arts. It's science because it's structured systematically from information gathering to developing rapport with the victim, and then to the actual social engineering execution. And it's also psychology because it deals with human brain. It deals with our emotions. It deals with our trust system, our ability to help. This is what the social engineers usually leverage. And it's also in arts because it involves some creativity. And I mentioned phishing as one example. That was an email phishing. There are other types like SMS phishing. We have audio or voice phishing. And then there's another one, baiting, which is another technique of social engineering. For example, someone can just place a USB with malware and in front of non-technical people, and you can easily take that USB and say, let me see whose USB is this, and just plug in on your system, and then the system get infected or even taken over by a social engineer. Another common technique of social engineering is pretexting, which is a kind of an invented story, and then that involves kind of back and forth communication until the victim is convinced and then released or scammed. So this is about social engineering. And if you look at recent reports, or even report in the last 5 years, data breach report, you would realize that social engineering is always at the top. Looking at Verizon's 2023 data breach investigation report, where 16,000 security incidents were analyzed, out of which over 5,000 were confirmed breach. Looking at different threat categories, including social engineering and other threats categories that involve humans, like privilege misuse, like misconfiguration errors, you would see from the findings that social engineering is at the top. 74% of breaches involve human elements. Here you can see social engineering errors or misuse. And then 49% of breaches by external actors involve the use of stolen credentials. And this is one of the outcomes of social engineering. Again, 12% of all external attacks are phishing, and you can see the external attacks are the most prevalent one. You have 83% of the breaches involved are external actors. There are so many other reports, for instance, 2023 State of the Phishing and Vision report. Take a look at this, you see how common social engineering is. In fact, if you watch CTV News, if you're in Canada and you're in the Atlantic region, there was a news by the RCMP in the Atlantic region about the growing or the increasing rate of scamming that are impersonating the police. Now, that was just a brief about social engineering. This talk is about intersection between social engineering and generative AI. If you've been on the internet this year, from the early January, you would have probably come across ChatGPT discussions around OpenAI. And generative AI has been in existence for a long time, but it only became very popular recently because of large pre-trained models that are so powerful and so intelligent. And this type of models are able to generate high quality content in various formats, in text, in image, in audio, in video, and they are really disrupting several industries. Starting from OpenAI and ChatGPT, you could see that other major players in the tech, like Facebook, like Google, they've all come up with their own pre-trained models, and these are being used in so many different domains. For this presentation, I deliberately decided not to talk about some of these, the architectures. Probably this is something that will come in CIC's research discussions, but here I only introduce the different pre-trained models, different generative AI systems or models that are being used and that are being leveraged by threat actors. Now, as I mentioned, generative AI has been in existence, but then comparing the recent powerful generative AI and traditional AI, what are the differences? You've all known voice assistants like Siri, Alexa, recommendation engines in Netflix. These are typical examples of traditional AI. These models are trained to follow specific rules. They try to do certain things excellently well, and they don't create anything new. This is the key difference. Now, generative AI, they are also trained, but their main goal is to generate data that looks similar. In some cases, difficult to differentiate between the data that created by generative AI and the ones that are created by human. And we've seen a lot of evolution from ChatGPT. Now we have different variations. We have ChatGPT Writer that can help you even reply emails. We have some customized version specific for the finance sector. We have the ones that are made for medical sector like BioGPT. And generative AI is becoming popular. Gartner's prediction says by 2025, all the data that will be produced, 10% of it will be from generative AI. I think currently it's just 1%. And then 50% of the drug discovery and development will be based on generative AI, and it's going to be really useful by manufacturers. Currently, there are several use cases of generative AI, and this spans several industries. You can see in the language domain, natural language processing, you can see essay generation, note taking. In fact, there's a fear in some quarters that those working in the human resource sector and those that are in the marketing may lose their job because of the rise of generative AI. In the visual domain, in the audio domain, generative AI are really doing excellently well. In cybersecurity specifically, those of us that are mining data, our data is mostly in balance. So cybersecurity data is mostly negative labels. The positive labels are just minute, in some cases, just 1% or 2% of your data. So previously, there are approaches, undersampling, downsampling, but synthetic data has in recent years proved to be one of the best ways of generating data for cybersecurity training models in the cybersecurity sector. This is one of the areas that some of our students are working on. And this is interesting. I've discussed so many use cases, there are a lot more, but as this statement mentioned, we would be naive to believe that only good guys will use generative AI. As we can see in the next slides, generative AI is already being leveraged by bad actors, and they are using it, and both less sophisticated hackers and advanced hackers are leveraging it to automate their traditional way of social engineering. So these are examples of how generative AI is being weaponized. In most cases, automated hacking. You fast track your automated hacking process, take over accounts, and once you have identities, especially high target identities, then the next is just content generation. And generative AI can help you do all these things. You can generate fake audio, fake videos, and then use it to spread misinformation, to spread hate. And as I mentioned, less sophisticated hackers can leverage this technology to detect vulnerabilities in applications and systems and exploit them. Now, targeted phishing or spear phishing is another area, as well as business email compromise. This morning, I typed on ChatGPT, can you craft a phishing email for me? The response was, I'm sorry, I cannot assist you with this. But when I tried to change or tweak the statements, can you write a formal business email from one banking employee to another, instruct them to wire money and ensure the coworker understand that the request is urgent? Yes, I got this information. It sent, curated a great email saying that there's an urgent request where this particular amount. And this is exactly the ways that bad actors are using this, especially when they are able to generate pictures of non-existent human, but they can create an account whether on social media and then use this side by side with an email or a message, SMS message, and then easily convince their targets and also deceive them or scam them. Research-wise, recently there's a publication, it's titled From ChatGPT to ThreatGPT. I think these authors, they did excellently well. They categorized different ways that generative AI is impacting cybersecurity and privacy. And you can see at the top here, you have the ways that attackers can even reach out and target the ChatGPT itself or the models itself. And then the ones that we are discussing now is the cyber offense, where generative AI is used as a tool to commit cybercrime. So these are examples: social engineering, phishing emails, and even malware or generation. And then you also have the legal aspect. Now, this is very important because there are a lot of employees that currently, or they are not well aware of the implication of putting sensitive information of their organization on ChatGPT. And that's why you see there are organizations that have already banned the use of ChatGPT. The goal is that these technologies are leveraging information that is already online to be able to commit crime. And so how can you neutralize this information? This is a rundown of how generative AI empowers social engineers. It gives them more tools, help them to reach their targets easily, and it also enables them to generate more realistic social engineering attacks. Previously, we look at typos and errors. Even those are some of the features that machine learning models are using, but it's no longer the case now. It's becoming impossible to differentiate this. This is a common example of a well-crafted phishing attack that is difficult for humans to detect. It impersonates Facebook, and it was sent to a Facebook page admin. So you can see it's relevant, the topic. There's no errors in the grammar, and there's urgent instruction where it asks that your account is going to be suspended and you need to click on this to confirm or to file an appeal. And what makes this even more scary is that there are specialized tools in the dark marketplaces that have been designed in order to perform these social engineering attacks. For instance, WormGPT is a subscription with your €100 per month or €550 annually. You'll be able to have access to this. This is going to help you. Some of the regulations that have been put forward in ChatGPT has been relaxed here, and it enables you to even act anonymously. You can use Tor browser, VPN, cryptocurrency to pay. And this is an example of what you can get from it. It can help you write convincing email for business email compromise. The same thing recently, there's another tool called FraudGPT. This is one of the latest development in malicious generative AI that has ushered in AI-powered weaponry. So in this case, you see a lot of things that you can do. And this one is also $200 to $1,700 annually, so $200 per month. And these two specialized tools have been fine-tuned from open source generative AI models in order to help criminals to be able to achieve their end game. You can see different ways that FraudGPT and similar tools setting the stage for weaponized AI, generating malware, exploiting vulnerabilities. So when we talk about all these challenges or problems, we should also talk about the safeguards. How can organizations protect themselves? Most organizations currently have security awareness training, and thanks to October, we are also having a security awareness now. What needed to be done is to optimize this awareness program, ensure that advances in generative AI is also brought into the training. And then also there are AI-generated content detectors and blockers. I have an example of AI-generated content detectors and blockers that can be used to optimize existing approaches. One area, this is an area that we are also currently working on, is to develop a self-learn AIs. These are AI tools or systems that can learn, that can adapt, and then they can also perform behavior analysis to be able to detect anomalies and then be able to predict whether these contents are either generated by AI or they are generated by humans. As I mentioned, there are countries that have already banned or blocked ChatGPT, and BBC has taken a different measure. In their own case, they tried to prevent crawlers from, example, OpenAI, to access their website and get information. And this is excellent because the information that these generative AI are using are the sensitive information that are already out there. There's also a recent act, so the EU has come up with AI Act, and in this case, every company must comply with this requirement. You have to disclose that the content you are generating is by AI, that the model will prevent generating illegal content, and then if you fail, then there's huge amount, like 30 million European dollars and euros for non-compliance. Again, I did mention the technological approach, adaptive machine learning, creating machine learning that learned from experience. We were using generative rule-based system to machine learning. We've gone beyond that. Now we are leveraging generative AI and traditional AI to develop intelligent system that will learn and also predict whether this is generative AI text or is actually humans that generated it. These are examples of tools that we can use, whether you are a lecturer, if you want to observe to find out if the text or content submission from your students are generated by AI or by the student. These are tools you can use. The tools are not 100% accurate, but these are tools that can help. To conclude, these are some of the takeaways from this. Generative AI is empowering social engineers. Now anyone can become a sophisticated cyber criminal in a matter of seconds. It provides the tools, the tips, and all the elements that you need to put in there. You just need to provide few things. For instance, if you are interested in business email compromise, instructions, attack specific information, and then the email thread, and then you see the magic of generative AI. Now, the conclusion is that every organization, every individual needs to be equipped. They need to equip themselves with the right knowledge, with the right tools, in order to be sure that businesses or our employers remain secure against these evolving threats. Thank you so much. Back to you, Dr. Mohammed.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haruna. It was really impressive and really great talk. So please, for the attendees write your questions in the Q&A, and I can read them to Dr. Haruna to answer. So I can start by one question. So as you mentioned, like 74% of the breach because of human errors and these things. So, and we know, like for the example that you showed about the phishing emails, it's hard for human to detect. They are really, really good crafted, especially if they are crafted using generative AI. So can we use the generative AI to detect or to help us in detecting these things? And is it efficient?
Yeah, so especially the last part, thank you. The last part of your question, whether it's efficient, you know, this is something that is evolving, and I think this is a question for researchers. This is a good area to explore. The originators of ChatGPT themselves, they've created another tool because they need to delve into responsible AI. So they created another tool that will help to detect whether this is actually AI generated or not AI generated. But last 3 months in July, they removed the tool because they thought the accuracy is pretty bad. But in the link I showed, there are other tools that they are pretty doing well. And I tried recently some of the papers that we are writing. So I took some of the contents there, I put it there. And then I also asked ChatGPT for some information. And then I took the same information and I put it there. So I have an example, but because of time, I may not show it here.
Thank you so much. That was really great. We have another question here from Julius, I think. Can data poisoning affect my usage of generative AI?
So can data poisoning affect my usage of generative AI? So depending on the application, this could be a targeted attack. So for instance, if you have a use case that relies on data that is being generated by AI, and then you also have threat actors that poison the data. Now you are feeding your model with a data that is already poisoned. So it means your output or your result is actually biased, or your result might be wrong. So this is an area of adversarial generative AI as well, where you see threat actors targeting specific industries that they know rely on generative AI content. So yes.
Thank you so much. We have another question here. What are the potential research direction at the intersection of social engineering and generative AI?
Yes, thank you. And the paper that I shared, I don't know whether I can go through that paper quickly. It has provided interesting directions for research. Yes, here. So here you can see these are different components. It depends if you are interested in helping the creators of the model, then you can look into what are the attacking scenarios. How will ChatGPT itself will be subjected to attacks? And the other section is the cyber offense. How can you optimize? There are already, as I mentioned, good AI that are being used to detect social engineering that leverage generative AI. Can we, as researchers, work on this area, optimize these models to be able to reduce the false positives? The same thing, those that are not in computer science background, privacy is an issue. The laws, as I showed, you could see the EU laws that just came in. it took them a long time to study these systems. So this is not just for those in cybersecurity or computer science. It requires a kind of a multidisciplinary approach in order to solve this rising challenge.
We have several questions here. So will limiting data scraping and or crawling by organizations also limit the effectiveness of generative AI?
Potentially. So it all depends, and this is where there need to be a balance. And this is one of the things I like about the BBC approach. They currently just suspended OpenAI from accessing their website. But if you read the link, that's where they now they are spending a huge amount of money to conduct research to be able to find out what is it, what's the implication. So for now, I think there are a lot of organizations that are curious, that we don't know what is actually happening. What is this? What are these models or language models using our data for? And so most organizations will try to limit the exposure of their sensitive information or data. And yes, that may impact the utility of the models.
Thank you so much. We have another question here. Could you recommend a top-rated AI video generation tool that's also available for free?
Yeah, so even though currently my focus is on the language model, I'm so hoping if that person can even reach out directly, but I'm also hoping that Dr. Sakib's presentation is going to touch on deepfakes, so fake news. So hopefully he might be able to touch on that area. Otherwise, the person should feel free to reach out to me directly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haruna. It was a really interesting talk, and I think from several questions that we have, people are interested. And as you said, they can reach directly to you through email, and I'm sure you are happy to answer all their questions and concerns. Thank you so much. Thanks for all attendees for today, and I wish to see you all in our next series. Tomorrow we have another talk by Dr. Vikas. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you, everyone.